Hey everyone, my name is Kayla Morton. I'm the sports editor at the East Carolinian. Welcome to the fall version of TECSperts for East Carolina's football team. This is Aaron Jackson. He's the football editor for the East Carolinian and a beat writer for football. This is Tyler Gavin, and he is the other football beat writer this semester. Hey everyone, welcome to our first week of TECSperts. Along with Aaron and Tyler this week, we also have Chase Carroll, who is our beat writer for volleyball. So we're going to be talking about ECU's loss to James Madison, as well as our predictions and what we think of West Virginia. So Gardner Minshew was our starter at the beginning of the season, but now Thomas Sirk is our starting quarterback. What do you all think about that?
Thomas Sirk coming in for Gardner Minshew was kind of inevitable.
I think that's what Coach Montgomery honestly wanted all along. He has that long history with Sirk from Duke. Gardner might have been more experienced in the offense just from being here previously, but obviously the way JMU went, Gardner really couldn't complete any passes or get anything going on the offense. And Sirk came in and led some drives down the field, so I think we're better off.
While they both didn't have the greatest of stats, Thomas Sirk clearly did run the offense better. I just think that he gives another dynamic. He can run the ball as well. He can throw the ball up in the end zone a little better.
He brings a lot of energy.
He does.
To the offense.
He does.
There's not much left for Minshew to come back and take the job.
So what did you guys think Sirk did exceptionally better than Minshew when he came in the second half this past week?
I wouldn't use exceptionally. He did move the ball down the field better. A lot of Gardner's passes in the first half were down around wide receivers' ankles, which is why he struggled to complete just his first pass. And when Thomas came in, he rushed the ball outside of the tackles, and he completed passes down the field, which actually moved the East Carolina offense into scoring position.
And he kind of more livened up the stadium when he came in, and he was more hyped. He was into the game, and that's what the fans wanted, and he made the offense at least score once.
Yeah, like they both said, Thomas Sirk did move the ball better. He got us down to the red zone, something Gardner Minshew was really unable to do. Gardner Minshew, when he was in, we saw a lot of 3-and-outs. I feel like Thomas Sirk definitely gives us a better chance to at least get some points on the board. Whether or not we can actually convert in the red zone is another question, but he definitely can get us in range.
So both of you guys were in the press box, but Aaron mentioned the stadium kind of livening up. You were in the stands. What did you see from that aspect?
Definitely when Thomas Sirk entered the game, there was definitely between I was in the student section. The students were ecstatic when they saw Thomas Sirk come in. That's just been something fans have wanted to see since they heard he transferred from Duke. Gardner Minshew, he played decently last year, but he didn't do anything too spectacular. Thomas Sirk has shown that he can play at a high level. He played at a very high level in the ACC first team all conference. So he has the ability. It's just whether or not he can get there with this team or not.
And he's also tough. The play that I was mentioning where the stadium livened up, he got hit late, and he stood up and just flexed, and everybody was happy. We got the penalty, and
unfortunately, the next play was an interception. But
so what was the press box's kind of reaction when the quarterbacks were switched?
Excitement. Just kind of what everyone expected, I think.
So obviously the defense led up 265 yards alone to James Madison's running back. Kind of talk me through some of the issues on both sides of the ball for ECU.
I'm definitely seeing our defensive line. It's just they don't seem aggressive. They don't seem like they're attacking the ball. They're letting them come to them, letting the running backs come to them. For over 400 yards of rushing total between just from JMU overall. I feel like our secondary played well in pass coverage. We saw a good play from Tim Irvin as well as Bobby Fulp converting an interception. However, 2 80-yard touchdowns, you can't give up 2 80-yard rushing touchdowns and expect to win a game. So that's something they need to figure out and really just fix.
They also gave up a 70-yard one to the backup.
They did.
Chase is absolutely right that you take those two 80-yard touchdowns out, and Carter Johnson's stats look a lot less inflated. The defensive line was absolutely overpowered at the point of attack, and in ECU's new 4-2-5 defense, when there's only two linebackers, it's either got to be the defensive line or the defensive backs who come up to make the tackles. And the two linebackers, Jordan Williams and Tim Urban, made 22 combined tackles, which just shows the stress on them.
For me, offensively, I see ECU's weakness was not being able to convert in the red zone. Defensively, they did not get any pressure on the quarterback nor the running backs as they came through the hole. They were allowed to go to the secondary and score.
So we clearly have a lot of negative aspects from our first game against James Madison, but what are some of the strengths you see going forward for our team?
Strengths, I see that our edge rushers will begin to become on the same level as our opponents. I believe that they're getting faster and they're stronger and they're tall, and they have the ability to deflect passes and allow those tips to be available for our corners.
I think the East Carolina football team has a lot of depth at both the defensive line and in the wide receiver corps. Thomas Circle have a surplus of wide receivers to throw it to all season, and if they can get Jimmy Williams more involved, I think the offense can actually move the ball into the end zone.
As he's saying, I wanted to see more from Jimmy Williams this past weekend. He was given an opportunity, a jump ball in the end zone to really come down with a touchdown, get momentum for the team, and he just was unable to convert, and really it ended up being an interception and just going the other way. So we do have depth at wide receiver. I want to see DeAndre Ferrier perform a little better. He had a couple good moments last game, but there was that one play over the shoulder on fourth down in the end zone that he just couldn't come up with. And these are big plays that need to be converted. If these two plays, they change the game.
One of the receivers needs to step up.
Mm-hmm. And if I can add one thing that's off the football field, I think Coach Montgomery, despite all the scrutiny, has put together a really good staff around him. I know defensive line Coach Prutney has been doing a gospel preaching at his house every Thursday, and they're saying that over 80 players come. I really like defensive back Coach Brandon Lynch. I like defensive coordinator Kenwick Thompson. I think this new 4-2-5 defense can really turn out a good product, but obviously after week one, it's going to take a lot of building.
And so you would say they're still kind of getting in gear.
Absolutely.
In the formation. So switching to West Virginia now, our next opponent on Saturday. What do you see as mainly like West Virginia's strengths going into this game?
West Virginia's strengths start with Will Greer, and he's obviously going to score. He's going to rack up yards in the air and on the ground, and they can hand the ball off as well, and that's obviously been a problem for ECU's defense to handle.
Yeah, Will Greer has a lot of talent around him too. Justin Crawford, their running back, was the Big 12 Newcomer of the Year last year, and he went for over 100 yards and a touchdown against Virginia Tech. Gary Jennings caught for almost 200 yards and a touchdown, and this week, wide receiver Marcus Sims is coming back from a DUI where he was suspended week one. And from what I've read, that's West Virginia's deep threat. And from last week, I think a deep threat might put ECU in some danger.
Will Greer being dominant is nothing new. We've seen it at Florida. He went undefeated at Florida before his suspension. Again, we saw it against a premier defense in Virginia Tech that he can air it out. He threw for over 400 yards. They passed over 50 times. Which is that they passed 52 times, sixth most in West Virginia history. So they're going to look to air it out on us. While our defense did well in pass coverage this past weekend, they weren't playing against Will Greer. So I'm interested to see what happens against Will Greer and if we can fix our running
miscues.
Yeah, miscues on.
And he only had one interception as well, and they only had 2 turnovers in the game against Virginia Tech. So
what do you think ECU is going to be able to do that's going to get under their skin and be able to make them make mistakes?
I think if East Carolina couldn't establish a run game, it'll really provide a lot of benefits down the field. If Tyshawn Dye can come in and get more than one carry and maybe get to 50, 60 yards, then the play action opens up. Thomas Sirk gets a lot more time. And if they just stick with their game and don't try to switch it at halftime again, they'll be able to put out a better product.
Like Coach Montgomery said after the James Madison game, I think the team needs to be more physical, and they've been physical all summer. They were physical in the first game. If they come out physical against West Virginia, they might get under their skins and cause a lot more penalties like they did against James Madison.
All right. So moving on to our predictions for the ECU West Virginia game. Tyler, we'll start with you. You have the closest score predicted, West Virginia coming out on top 31-20. Why do you predict this so close of a score?
Because last week against Virginia Tech, redshirt freshman Josh Jackson was able to move the ball really well against a West Virginia defense. They have a lot of talent out on the edges, but in the front seven, it looks like they're susceptible to the run. And I think East Carolina can establish that run game this week. I think you're going to see a much more motivated Garrett McGinn, who was team captain but got benched at halftime due to his inability to snap the ball. And I just expect for East Carolina to stick with them as long as they can, and then we'll throw it over the top.
Gotcha. Chase, you're predicting a 42-28 West Virginia victory, giving you're the one that gave ECU the most points on the board this week, so why do you think that?
Well, I'm looking for them to, this is Thomas Sirk's first really game going in as a starter. I'm hoping that gives them a little boost in confidence. Hopefully they got worse this past weekend. There's no other way of putting it. I'm hoping that they come out fiery and they just take it as a sign of disrespect that no one believes in them. I want them to come out, put up some points on the board. However, I just feel like their defense won't be able to keep up with them. So that's why I have the 42-28 loss.
Gotcha. And Aaron, you're predicting the most points scored for West Virginia at 50-17 score. Why do you think West Virginia will blow them out this time?
Well, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate, but I do believe that West Virginia will run up the score, only because ECU's defense will get tired of being on the field. And if ECU's offense cannot put up points in the second half, other than the first quarter or the second quarter, they're not going to stick with West Virginia.
Do you expect the offense to struggle so much that the defense is on the field as much as they were against JMU?
I expect them to hold it out for the first half, yes. Okay. But that 17, out of the 17, 14 is coming in that first half.
Okay.
And then finally, I have a 41-17 prediction for West Virginia. I think overall, West Virginia is just a better team. ECU struggled against a James Madison team that, statistically wise, coming into the game, I mean, all teams look good on paper, but ECU did have the advantage. I think that West Virginia, whenever they get into scoring opportunities, they're going to score, whether it's red zone or field goals, and I feel that 5 touchdowns over 4 quarters for West Virginia is low, and that was generous. So that concludes our first week of TECSperts. Tune in next week when we recap West Virginia and preview for family weekend at home against Virginia Tech.